Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Down South Salvation Podcast. For this week's episode, we are continuing our Psalms and Soundwaves series with Tony from Low Fidelity Worship. And before we jump into his story, though, I want to open us in prayer. O God, whom saints and angels delight to worship in heaven, be ever present with your servants who seek through art and music to perfect the praises offered by your people on earth, and grant to them even now glimpses of your beauty, and make them worthy at length to behold it unveiled forevermore through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
All right, Tony. I guess the best place to start is kind of the beginning. Why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and about your faith journey and how you ended up making music?
Okay. Well, all of it is, starting back in the beginning, I went to a bunch of different churches. My parents, my mom specifically, she grew up Catholic, but then sort of just kind of checking out different churches and went everywhere from Catholic to Methodist. She wound up in some little small town, like charismatic church for a little while back in the Our God is an Awesome God days, like 80s. And from there, she was just looking into her own spirituality and searching for God, and ended up becoming a principal of a small Baptist school. And so we kind of landed in a Baptist church there for about 10, 12 years as she was the principal for it. So I grew up having my mom as the principal, which is an interesting place to be in. And me and the secretary's son were the same age, and we ended up in detention a lot because we like to just have fun and mess around with silly stuff. It's Christian school, being tardy or whatever, you get little demerits and eventually end up in detention. But through that, we had a small band teacher, small band program, and started learning music through that and playing saxophone. I was a BMX racer, so that got us kind of into some more of the kind of early, so this is late 80s, early 90s, so the early-ish side of BMX racing. But it kind of got us into that extreme sports with skateboarding, and rollerblading was really big at that time. So we were doing like the inline skating, rollerblading stuff. And with that, there's a whole music scene as well. And so, I'd say, not Christian music, but we kind of grew up with like what a lot of people see as like a kind of a cool age of music, where a lot of the big albums are released at that same time in the early 90s, from like Metallica, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam. I mean, big list, and kind of the whole West Coast music vibe from Seattle and all that kind of spread, Green Day and all that, and get the grunge and all that. But my mom being a principal at a Christian school and all that, she did not. I mean, there was a time when it was like no drums allowed, like kind of stuff. And there was, again, we went through so many phases through the 80s based on churches and different things that she was into, of what music was allowed and wasn't. And but we ended up getting in early when the Christian music scene had Tooth and Nail Records, was a big like indie music label that had like Starflyer 59 and all these kind of emo bands, and like just kind of underground music scene. And MXPX was one of those that I still is one of my favorite bands to listen to, and they're still making music 33 years later. But so in that, I just want to play guitar. So at about 15, I started playing guitar. Going back a few years before that, growing up in a Christian home doesn't make you a Christian by any means. Sometimes you have to remind people of that here in West Michigan. It's like, I was born one. Like, they don't really understand what it actually means. And so it was at my aunt's church, actually, we'd go to an Easter play. And at the end of that is when I actually accepted Jesus. But so that was like late middle school, like 13 years old. And from that, just kind of wanted to make music. That's what I wanted to do with my life. And thought I was going to be in rock and roll bands and all that through, I studied music in college, but I studied like music and youth ministry because that's kind of what a degree I could get. So I went to a small Christian college in Detroit area, Metro Detroit, and got a music and youth ministry degree. And from that, started working in a church. So that was about 2002. And did that for about 3 years and really kind of got a bug for media and kind of jump shipped into like the media art stuff, and went back to school, got a master's degree in film and television. I kind of did that for about 15 years and have kind of really just jumped back into music in the last 3 years or so, 2 to 3 years. And my son's been doing it and learning it. And, I'd play a little bit here and there and learn a few new instruments, ukulele, or, small, simple things on top of playing guitar. But my son, who's now 16, we got him into music early. And so we've always had music around, and taking them to concerts and different things that they could see. And so that's kind of a quick synopsis of, one of the big things in between the 15 years. And the reason I kind of got out of music was I was doing like humanitarian disaster relief work with film and video, where we'd, go and be the eyes and ears of what's happening somewhere in order to raise funding for helping people. And so I did that and traveled all over the world doing that. And so it was hard to be scheduled to play music when you never knew, like, if like the Haiti earthquake happened, you were on a plane the next day and you were gone for, weeks upon weeks and didn't know when you'd come back. So, and that was all through like Christian humanitarian organizations that I'd work with, or missions groups, or different things. So, but yeah, and even in that, and even in the video process, so much of it is music driven, and kind of in the storytelling, even though its voice is now speaking instead of singing, the music still ties to emotion and emotional appeal. And so it's still probably the strongest element that I would pull in to a video that we'd create would be music, based on what the needs were, and setting a tone and mood. So very much influenced by it throughout my entire life.
Nice. So I'm curious, how did you come up with the name Low Fidelity Worship for your Instagram?
Okay. Yeah. So when I was in school, the music that was able to be made back then it was a lot harder to make good sounding music. Now people just produce in their homes. A lot of people will just create music, and the tools that they have are so much better. But what I would do in order to be able to remember songs is I would just record them, and what I considered like just a low fidelity recording, use an iPhone like Gen 1 or whatever through voice memo, or just the speaker on an old, I had the old PowerBook Macs that were like the titanium ones, and not great. They had GarageBand, but like the tools for using it weren't super great. It was just starting. And I just record them like bare bones, no nice equipment or anything. And so some of those songs actually ended up on the album I made, and they came from these low fidelity recordings that I had. And a lot of times the funny thing is I actually liked the rawness of the original ones that were more than I liked the if I tried to actually produce it and it just was too crisp and perfect. I didn't like it as much as just the raw playing it live into a microphone and not like going in and adding all the extras. So and so I kind of took that approach to the album when I was making it, in that I didn't want to use the nicest equipment. Like I used an old 1930s K guitar on a lot of the tracks, which doesn't sound great to most standards. Like it just sounds clunky, and I don't know, but it has a tone to it that I just liked, and it just wasn't perfect, and it rattles the strings, and there's a lot of imperfection in it, and I just wanted that to be, because I think the bigger picture of where the whole thing came from too, and the idea of it is, and this could get into some of the things you were saying, like you didn't have any like really wrestle hard with questions, but I think one of the things that I believe is that, God has given so many people songs, but we only sing the same 30 songs across the world on a given Sunday in churches. Everybody's singing from the same set list, as if whatever that word is that was for that church that wrote it is the same word that is for your church. That's going through completely different things and a different demographic and a different whatever. And so we've given the keys of worship over to like 2 or 3 big churches that have money to produce things. And I was like, man, it would be so cool if we could just create a system or an idea where when God's given just other people a song that we don't need that anymore. In this day and age, people can post it. It doesn't even have to be a complete song with full arrangements and everything. If you have a melody and some chords and words that could speak at a different church, it'd be easy enough for somebody to take that and finish it. And I was kind of thinking how cool that would be to kind of spread that idea that, like, it's not just the songs that Elevation does church or Bethel Church does, or like these big ones that have huge recording studios and tons of money to produce stuff and time and talent and all these people. I mean, there's people in smaller churches where it's just them and a piano that God has given amazing songs to that could speak to other churches. And I just think it'd be cool if people would start sharing them. And it doesn't take, you don't have to do that high quality recording in order to do that. So I'd love to somehow create a database and enable people to just share, even if it's just a melody or a chorus, it's not even a complete song, where the church can come together and they can use that as a tool for what their congregation is going through. Because I look at songs, I was a worship director until recently, and I'd look at songs and I'd be like, none of these are speaking what we're going through or what we need, but there's only so many. And there's this whole kind of idea that we have to start with a fast song and then we need to, and so it's like kind of trying to break some of that mold that we think we have to abide by, and that we have to only do these songs that are on the top 20 list of Chart Builder or whatever the multi-tracks tool is that everybody uses for getting their song sheets from. So that was kind of the idea. And so I just decided to drop it as that name instead of my name. I didn't want to use my name in it because I don't think it needs to have my name in it. The last two I added a feature where I didn't realize what it was doing, but it put featuring Tony Cece on, but now I know what that button does. And I probably won't do that again. But it's also a tool that I can use if if people are sharing their music, but they want it to be distributed, where it can be distributed through that and say who it is, who wrote it, featuring, whoever wrote it, but through that kind of idea or that channel. So anyway, it was just an idea that I had that if I wanted to go further with it, and if I could get some steam with some people here locally even, and then try to go bigger from that. Not that it's needed. There's people that are doing it. It's just hard to find. Like, it's shocking that you found mine because I haven't even put any effort into it yet, really.
Right.
For the music that I've created. And I'm just kind of slowly trying to build a catalog of it up.
Yeah. I can actually think of someone, he's not local, but he might be interested in hearing your idea about the database thing. I might have to put you in touch later. I've had him on my show before. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying, though. But I agree with you, though, as far as the state of worship music goes nowadays. It kind of feels a little bit repetitive every Sunday. Of course, I consider myself more... I'll be honest, I've never much cared terribly for, like, contemporary worship, like contemporary Christian music, just generally speaking. Like, the poppy... really feel good all the time kind of Christian music. I've always definitely been more of a Christian rock kind of guy myself because there's actual variety in that. And it's
what
not...
kind of stuff would you like?
So, Skillet, obviously, because
Yeah.
everybody who likes Christian rock knows Skillet.
Yep.
Red, Flyleaf. Flyleaf is good.
Yep.
MXPX, which that
Yeah.
was when I came across later in life. I didn't even realize they were a thing for a long time. The early Under Oath and early Emery albums, before they went
Oh, yeah.
kind of off the rails.
Yeah.
um,
Amberlin was one back then. They were
oh
touring together with
yes,
Emery.
yes.
Yeah. So I used to do like interview things with some of the bands. So that was one of the things during school that I did.
Uh-huh.
And so even in keeping with the music, what I wanted to do with media was to go back and shoot music videos, Christian music videos. And I actually got the opportunity to shoot the Wash by the Water video for Need to Breathe.
Oh, that was you?
Yeah, I got to direct that. But YouTube kind of killed filmmaking for that, and which is good because it made it accessible. They could do it themselves, which made it just much more homegrown.
Right.
And it, the tools that came out became cheaper to make good looking videos, and so it kind of killed it as far as being a job to be able to do and make money at. But so yeah, I was into that, but I was also doing interview series, which are called intercessions, which was like kind of between their practice and whenever they'd go on. And so yeah, I got to interview the guys from Emory and Amberlin and May, and I don't even remember. It was out in Norva, at the Norva in Norfolk, Virginia, and I just grab them. Of course, working with their managers to do some kind of like video interviews that we're using for the university to use on their internet little TV show thing that they had. So anyway,
Nice.
so I was even keeping with the music stuff early on then, because the Christian rock scene was huge for me.
Yeah.
And so I've loved going back through the podcast series about the Tooth and Nail and all that, and hearing about all the stories, because like, whoa, stuff you don't know because there wasn't the internet back then, that you just were blind to, and how it all happened and worked. And you could
Right.
read into some of the lyrics of the songs and how that all went down for him. But so it sounds like you like a lot of the same style music that I do, which is a big break into what I actually created, which is more of that low quality folky kind of mandolin and
Yeah, which actually,
hand drum.
I I actually really do appreciate like the folk style of music, because again, my big thing is the Christian music scene. The mainstream Christian music scene has essentially been nothing but Christian pop songs for, I don't know, the better part of 2 decades at this point.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of exhausting.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Not that
I
there's
never got
anything.
into the mainstream, like the K-Love kind of stuff. If it's on K-Love, I probably haven't heard it.
Yeah. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I think I have some concerns about certain large churches and their theology
Yeah.
that goes behind them.
That's
But,
part of it. But and they're the only ones that you can get the music from.
right.
And so that's right. You would say we may or may not get too in depth with the theology stuff, but that's my main concern. Is you have to go over a fine tooth comb.
Yeah.
I try to yeah.
And the majority of it isn't even really like that. The majority of it is very surface level stuff, and
Yeah.
it's probably
It's
fine.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. It's just so tiring to see the rest of the music industry, the secular music industry, have all this variety, and then you have all these Christian radio stations that just have the same 20 songs. It feels like. Even when they're different songs, they all sound the same.
Right.
And I mean, if someone likes listening to that, then I mean, go ahead.
I don't even say that about rock stations. I guess there are or radio stations. I guess there are a few that are heavy rock or rock based, but there's a lot of them that are just the poppy Bieber. I think the music industry's changed a lot.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things where I feel like keeping up with it it's interesting, because radio isn't a big thing anymore. Everybody's waiting for that next single to drop on Spotify
Right.
or whatever. It's not like we were waiting for albums to drop and go to Best Buy and they had a whole section, or the Family Christian store, and they had a whole section of new music that you were waiting to see on the CDs to come out, like release day on Tuesday or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So there's not that kind of excitement, I feel like, behind it. Like my kids, all the stuff they listen to is nothing really new. It's a lot of the older music. You still listen at sports games. They're still playing a lot of just the older stuff that they were playing in the 90s. That kind of pop punk kind of stuff that hits and makes, has energy for sporting games.
Well, I would attribute that pretty much to just the music industry at this point. Like you just said, it's changed so much. It's basically single driven at this point, and there's nothing. There is no. I would argue that for most of the secular music industry, anyway, there's no depth whatsoever to writing a song.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean,
well, AI is going to change a lot of it, right? Too, because they
yeah,
can actually write the song, and you can just learn to play it.
yeah,
It'll make a catchy tune, and so that's going to affect worship music, I'm sure, too. A lot of people, because I think the worship industry is a monetary based industry more than it is a God based industry. Unfortunately, it's probably one of the biggest money making music endeavors, especially in the Christian market, that you could be in, is to write Christian music or worship songs, because every time that a church plays it,
yeah.
you're getting money for it. And so through the CCLI licensing and all this stuff, they're able to just keep making money on it, even though the songs.
And on the one hand, I get it, because you made a product, you obviously want to get paid for the product. Like, I get that part, but also I think I can't help but feel like it's maybe, and this might just be just a general human nature thing, it's probably done a lot of harm to it too. I mean, think about all the stuff we keep finding out about, like just what happened the other week. The
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Michael Tate from Newsboys. I mean, like, who saw that coming? Not me.
I thought the other guys, like Michael Tate, was gonna, not Michael Tate, Kevin Max was gonna have more weird stuff coming before Tate, because
Yeah.
he went a bit off the deep end with stuff, in my opinion, but or just seems like he does based on the internet persona he's created. As anyway, fame does weird stuff to people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. And the whole cover up of it, and what you're hearing now about just that industry in general, is a bit heartbreaking. You wish it would be better than it is, but it's a money machine, man. And they got investors. It's everything. It probably started out pure and good, and it got tainted by money. So
Yeah.
anyway, it's one of those things where there's the good and the bad of being able to just create your own stuff on a computer, like, but it's taken away, like, that desire, like I had as a kid, to be in a band. Like, we'd garage band, like we would be out in the garage with our friends, just making stupid songs, or in a basement in college,
Yeah.
making songs just with friends and different people coming in playing. Like, there isn't that, because, like, oh, I can just play the guitar and write this, and then I'll just do a drum beat on, I'll MIDI drum it, or I'll get, I can send it away on Fiverr and just have somebody. But you never have that collaborative process of coming together. So the idea of having bands that tour, I mean, all the ones that are touring are all the old ones now. I don't see the same amount of
Right. There's no heart to it anymore.
bands that are playing cheap shows anymore either. They're expensive. The last show I went to, what was the last show that I went to? I spent way too much money for it. I'm trying to. Stephen Wilson Jr. It's kind of, I don't even know where this guy came from. It's kind of country, but it's kind of alternative. He sounds like Soundgarden singing country music. He, like, slurs his word, just like slur singing, and we call it cursive singing. The way that he kind of links his words, but yeah, but it's phenomenal songwriting. just absolutely phenomenal. Going back to the '90s feel, I haven't been like so enamored by a musician in 20 years. And then this guy came out, and I'm just like, what? And I've sent it to all my friends, and several of them are the same way. Just like, this is music like what we had when we were kids. And so it was like $130 a ticket at this venue that we used to pay $15 for standing room only. St. Andrews Hall in Detroit. Like, drove over to Detroit to watch him because he's going to be hitting the big arena tour with somebody else next year. And I prefer the smaller venues, so
Right.
more intimate. But anyway, yeah, it's crazy. And we just bought Switchfoot tickets, and those were expensive. So we're going to see them Thursday
Nice.
in Shipshewana.
Nice. My wife would be very jealous to hear you say that.
Yeah. But see, I'd rather see just John Foreman do his folk stuff.
Yeah. Wait, does he do folk stuff? I didn't know he does.
Oh my goodness! Just look up John Foreman.
Okay.
His last album, which is called what is it called? Departures, is so good. I haven't really gotten into his In Bloom one, but his fall winter EPs are good, and Limbs and Branches. Yeah,
Wow.
it's good stuff. But his Departures album is phenomenal.
Nice.
It has some mind-bending songs in it. One of them sounds like it was a hymn, like he wrote a hymn, an old hymn. It's killer. Yep. So which I still like old hymns. I'm for still using them.
Same. I actually grew up going to an old school United Methodist church, and we did hymns every Sunday. There was no guitar. There was a piano and a choir, and everybody in the pews with a hymn book.
Yep. Yeah. We had our guy at the Baptist church was the owner of a hardware store in town, and he got up there and he just was boisterous and doing the arms, like directing a choir, and but he wasn't. Some people could be like that and just feel very stiff and whatever. He was just a good old boy, like just going for it. Like, not perfect, but it was great. We all loved him. But I still think of him sometimes when we sing those songs of him just leading it, and it takes me back. But some of them just, the scriptures just come alive out of them in some ways. And that's why I'm just like, holy, holy, holy. Man, I was just telling somebody about one. I'm going to blank on it now. I'll remember it later. But I've got a list of probably like 10 to 15 hymns that are just Blessed Assurance, and a bunch of oldies that I just still love and eat up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely my number one is Amazing Grace, because it's got to be Amazing Grace. Yep. And not the one where they added the chorus either. I'm talking the OG. I can't remember which CCM artist did that and redid Amazing Grace. Yeah, him.
Yeah. If for the task that he was given, he did a pretty fantastic job with it. Like,
it's not so much him, it's just, why was it a task at all,
Right. Well, it's for that movie, and they needed, but it didn't have any choruses. It's just verse, verse, verse. And if you're gonna write a chorus, that was a pretty decent attempt at it. But like It Is Well, Great Is Thy Faithfulness, some of those kind of A Mighty Fortress. That's when I picture him singing. If that was ever done, that's where I imagine him.
Actually, I was just thinking about this the other day. A Mighty Fortress I feel like would lend itself really well to being a rock song.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I could
heavy metal song.
Yeah.
It could be a heavy metal rock song. Yeah. It could be like an Emery.
Yeah, but I don't know though. I'm not a musician, and I never claimed to be either.
Yeah. Well, did you listen to Project 86 too back then?
Dude, you're dropping a name on me I don't even know about. But I'm gonna look it up later.
Look it up. It was back in the POD days, Pay Will on Death.
Okay, see, I know POD.
They were probably my favorite, like, for tough band music. Like, it wasn't super screamy, but it was lyrically brilliant. Like,
right,
brilliant writer, and that's what I appreciated. So,
Like Youth of the Nation though, that song hits hard.
yeah.
That hits hard.
That was one of
Lyrically,
the
it's
first
hard.
videos I made for YouTube, and that's what got me into doing video. Was I had made something for a school project with Youth of a Nation, and
Nice.
yeah, and just putting it to visuals. But yeah, and then I got hooked to do video stuff,
Right.
and kind of moved into that. But again, it all ties back to music for me, most things, and the folk stuff I just did because I could do it all by myself here. I could just play the guitar. I could pick up and play the mandolin. Harmonica I just kind of figured out, so it's not great on it, but
yeah.
And then I play a little bit of the djembe hand drum, and that's about basically all I used were those couple of and a bass guitar, but just kind of played those several little things and
Right.
make music out of it and see where it went. And so I had the songs that I'd sing and play with acoustic, and then it's just a matter of kind of writing around what I had and kind of having fun with it. And but again, trying to use bare bones stuff like SM58 mics and stuff that I've seen other back when we would do it to tape, we'd use those because we didn't have money for anything else. And so I was trying to kind of recreate that. I was looking for a 4-track recorder because we used to do them to tape, and then you dub those 4 tracks and you'd bounce them down and take up 1 track, and then you record 3 more.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get this, it's each iteration you'd lose quality, and but you'd have the ability to have multiple instruments. So we used to have a Tascam 4-track recorder that we'd use, and but then we went digital with stuff. But I was trying to find something like that to do it, but I just decided I'd just kind of do it with the microphone and not standing as close, and hope that I'd get some of that effect of not being.
I was about to say, good luck finding vintage audio equipment.
It's expensive, surprisingly. But there were a few, but they couldn't verify it worked. I didn't want to spend money on one.
Right, of course. I mean, that's how it always is. I mean, it was hard enough for me to find an 8-track player. You know how hard it is to find an 8-track player?
Yeah, but records are coming back, which is cool.
Yeah, I got my little collection in a box next to me, but
yeah, if there's going to be a medium to come back, I prefer it to be the records. CDs were skipping and junk for, tapes got tore up and whatever. If I'm just going to put it on for listening in the house, man, the idea of a record player and just making it intentional. You're intentionally sitting down to enjoy music if you're using a record player.
Right.
So.
Which one of my projects for the future is to digitize all my tape that I have. That way, God forbid something happened to the tape, because it's not going to last forever, obviously.
Yeah.
But at least, because
I got. What do you have on tape still?
Say what?
What do you have on tape still?
Oh, I got a bunch of cassette tapes. I got a bunch of 8-track tapes.
Okay.
That I've just more or less just inherited or found at garage sales or thrift stores or whatever.
Yeah.
Just I kind of try to hunt for stuff that albums that probably never made it to CD.
Right.
Realistically, or some of my old classic favorites that I like, because I grew up, my grandpa.
The Girl and Key.
Yeah. Well, my grandfather still is a big country music guy. And I'm not talking new school country music. I'm talking the old stuff. The old stuff.
Yeah.
And then my dad, he came up in the 70s, so he was always listening to Metallica, AC/DC, Def Leppard, what else? Iron Maiden, Ozzy, the classics.
Man, I was in El Salvador and almost got to see Iron Maiden.
Nice.
In El Salvador about 7 years ago.
Nice.
That would have been insane.
Did you see any of Ozzy's farewell concert?
No. I haven't. Yeah. I haven't gotten out. I mainly have gone to Christian concerts.
Yeah.
Other than a few like Stephen Wilson Jr. or, but yeah, most of them still are. A couple of maybe punk shows or whatever. Still haven't seen Green Day surprisingly live.
Why? Oh, come on, man. That's like a prerequisite, man. What are you doing?
Yeah. We've seen Good Charlotte and Get Up Kids. I just went and saw the Get Up Kids did like a.
No way, you saw the Get Up Kids?
Yeah, well, I used to go and watch them all the time. That's how I found out about them. They opened for MXPX, and we got their first album, and then we went to all their shows whenever they come through Detroit. Well, they just did a 20th anniversary, a 25th anniversary of Something to Write Home About album.
Yeah.
Where they played the whole album as a show. So that was amazing. I just went to see the Postal Service and Death Cab for Cutie played together, and that was amazing.
Have you ever listened to Dashboard Confessional? Was that ever on in your rotation?
Yeah, we've seen him many times.
Nice.
Yep. And yeah, funny stories about that too, because we got to the point where we got a little snobby and we didn't want to watch the opening acts, and we got lost before you had Apple Maps or Google Maps, and barely made it for him to say, "This is the last song." And then all the girls sang, and you couldn't hear them because it's all teenage girls singing.
Of course.
At the top of their lungs. Yeah. No, he's honestly one of my favorites. So I got into acoustic music because of him. There was a group called no, it wasn't a group. So there's Pedro the Lion, was an old Christian kind of folk guy who kind of deconstructed his faith, which his albums still are hauntingly really good, but when you know what he's going through in his mind and everything that happened with his deconstruction, it's tough to listen to. And then, but man, what's the other guy? Damian Jurado was out of like Oklahoma, Omaha. Did he have a Departures album? He might have. What was it called? It had the song Ohio on it. It's funny because I remember Apple used to be one of their new iPod commercials. iPod.
Yeah.
And I think it's Damian Jurado. And I say Jurado. It's Damian Jurado. And what was the album called? Cloudy Shoes albums. Rehearsals for Departure. I got so into that album in 1999. And he was on a compilation as well, where he played in a group with the guy from Pedro the Lion, who's David Bazan. I was going to blank out his name. They did an album together, or it wasn't even an album. It was an EP, I guess.
Right.
That they created songs for. It's called Coolidge, and it was on one of the albums, and I loved the song. It was the weirdest song ever, and they actually released it, and I bought it on CD later, like that Coolidge album. Or maybe I found it used somewhere, and I bought it, and that's the only track I liked on it. I'll be honest, but Damian Jurado did this folk music with, and he'd go to like thrift stores and he'd find old answering machines and take the tapes from them, and he'd play them, and he'd use those as like interludes, or he'd tie it into the song, like, and there's these weird messages like in it from one person to another, and then he write a song about it or a story, because it's all about story writing, his songs. And so that's kind of when I started getting into that. And then Dashboard Confessional came out, and so at the time I was in a group in college that was called a Remaining Heart Foundation, and we wrote songs that were very much kind of in that vein of like Dashboard Confessional, like kind of acoustic emo. And I was also playing in a like a punk band called Soggy Carpet at the time, and so that was a name was given to us from a girl in high school.
That makes it funnier.
She used to spit on her carpet or whatever. She was interesting, but she listened to all the. I think they were put into the Christian school because they were going through some weird stuff. She was trying to help them, but she'd spit on her floor, and her dad walked in and stepped in it, and something about soggy carpet, and my friend was like, "That's what we should call the band." I'm like, all right, we don't have anything better. But yeah,
and that's how all the great punk bands get their names, though. It's got to be something weird.
Weird, yeah.
And then when you title the songs, you have to make sure the titles is like a full sentence that has absolutely nothing to do with what's actually in the song. It's a requirement nowadays.
One called Christina Aguilera Wants Me, and It was in the song. Oh yeah, it was in the song. But it was just funny stuff about growing up. Like, and that one was just about people walked in, and I was watching back in the day. The MTV would do the top 10 videos, music videos, and I
Yeah.
was waiting because Blink-182 had one in. But it was at the same time that Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears and all of them were out.
Yeah.
And so, in order to see their music video, you had to sit through that stuff. Well, I'm all alone in this college dorm watching Christina Aguilera, waiting for Blink-182 to come on, and a bunch of people came in and made fun of me. And I was just like, dude, chick wants me, or something like that. Something stupid you'd say in college. And then me and my friend wrote a song about it one evening. And yeah,
Oh
it was a
man.
fun song. But yeah, and we play shows around, southeastern Detroit, a little bit into Canada and stuff. Uh, but yeah, those were fun times. But yeah, man, Dashboard Confessional. Still, like I follow what he does on Instagram, and they're just getting back on tour with Goo Goo Dolls. I saw.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these bands are getting back together. Bleach was one of my favorite bands ever, and they're getting back together. I think for Furnace Fest or something in Alabama. But Bleach came out at the same time as Third Day. I remember going into the Christian bookstore and there was a CD sitting, or a cassette. I think it was a CD, singles, because it had two sides to the case. And I think it was like the cardboard ones that were shrink wrapped. It was just a cardboard case. It'd be on the counter. And on one side was the album art for Third Day, and the flip side of it was for Bleach, just for their Static song. There's just talking about Jerry and Sally, Perfect Family, whatever, on there. And ever since that, he had this like really cool. It's almost like Relient K. Like Bleach and Relient K to me were like two of the best concerts to go to as well. They were just fantastic at putting on a show. And I saw, and he'd also, like the guy from Relient K, he'd slow down and do these piano ballads. And those are some of their best songs, in my opinion. Like I love their punk, but then they'd slow it down and they hit these songs and it just like hit you in the
Right.
heart. And same with Relient K, and like In Like Winter that Relient K wrote, that's all about like Narnia.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. But so that was another thing where I'm like, man, now I've got weekends open again. I might try to get down that Furnace Fest just to see Bleach play again. But I think Embry's going to be there, and Amberlin, and all these groups
Right.
are going to be playing. MXPX might be there. If they're there, I'll probably really fight to get there. So I'd like to see them at least one more time, and take my sons, who are now 15, 16, to see them. Because my younger son, that's MXPX is one of his favorite bands, just from listening to it with me. Like their newest album is probably their best album they ever wrote, which is interesting. It's not usually like that, where you usually
Right.
like stick to the old ones. I feel like their last two have been some of their best
Well,
musically.
I mean, it's the same way with Andrew McMahon, his band has gone through several different names. They've been Something Corporate. They've been Jack's Mannequin.
Oh, Something Corporate's awesome.
Yes. I mean, I have you heard any of his new stuff that he does?
No,
Okay, he's now going by Andrew McMahon and the Wilderness,
okay,
and it's now I will tell you it's not quite like Something Corporate. It is a little bit more poppy, but it's not poppy in like a bad mass produced kind of way.
okay,
It's literally it's still just as authentic, I feel like, as Something Corporate was.
yeah,
And I love Something Corporate, and I'm so mad that I did not find Something Corporate when I was in high school, because that, oh,
yeah,
great music.
yeah, yeah. I
Fantastic.
was in college when I was listening to them. Yeah, the playlists and stuff. Whew, man, it's so different now. Pulling out and trying to listen to stuff. The Promise Ring was another one back then. At that time, that was pretty good. I don't know if you ever got into Me Without You, which is
Yeah.
okay. They're fantastic. Musically, they were one of they're geniuses. Guys quirky as all get out. One of the best concerts you could ever go to. Just unbelievable.
I haven't seen most of these artists in concert. Now, I
Okay.
have seen. I've been to Warp Tour, when Warp Tour, like
Yep.
real Warp Tour, like like before they
Oh,
shut it
yeah,
down
early
and then brought it
2000s.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
late
um,
90s, early 2000s. Yep.
like 2017 Warped Tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, which would have been, I don't know, I can't remember when the last one was, but or actually it wasn't 2017. It would have been 2014. Yeah,
Yeah.
2014 because I was still in high school. Um, and let me see here. Who else have I seen? I've seen Yellow Card in concert,
Yep.
and I've seen Jax or Andrew McMahon slash Jax Mannequin in concert. That's pretty much it. Actually, no, I've seen Skillet before, but that was at like a whole festival type deal. That wasn't just by itself kind of thing. Um, yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
much
Sounds
it.
like our musical palate's about the same. I was
Which
really into
is
brand new for a while.
yeah,
Uh,
I
and
I love Brand New. Well, I haven't listened to Brand New in a while. I've been trying to explore other stuff, but
yeah.
in high school though, I was all over Brand New, and it's funny because like even in my group of friends that I had, so the group of friends that I hung around with in high school were all like the metalhead types. So they were
Yep.
sitting there, they were listening to Slipknot, Disturbed,
Yep.
Ice Nine Kills, all that.
Heavy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, can I just get a little bit of emo here, please? Just a little bit
Yeah.
of emo.
Yeah.
Just I don't need y'all to be screaming the entire song. Can I
Oh,
just
yeah. That's
which
where I got into that. Like the Project 86 was kind of almost like Me Without You, but a little more hardcore.
yeah,
Like more when Me Without You would get into like a little bit of the screaming. That's kind of where they're more groove and
right.
um, yeah, but it was still like singing to me. Like there's still rhythm. But yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
what?
I never liked the heavy. Like Emery was about as heavy as I would get typically.
Yeah.
Yep.
Since we spent all this time talking about different musicians and different bands and everything, what would you cite for what you do? What would you cite as your main musical influences?
Probably like the Lumineers.
Okay.
That kind of a vibe. Head and the Heart, the Lumineers. Um, yeah, and I think I don't know. I'm trying to think. There's one other guy that I can't think of at the moment because I'm terrible at when I need to pull up a name. I'm terrible at it. But yeah, those would be the two that would most come to mind. I really like the Lumineers sound.
Uh
That
huh.
it just sounds like they're in a big room recording.
Right.
And, but man, what's that guy's name? He kind of basically locked himself in a cabin and recorded
Um,
that folk album.
it's not Noah Khan, is it?
No. Oh,
Dang. I can't. I got
it's
nothing.
like singer songwriter. I can't think. Yeah, Noah Khan would be a good guess, but it's more grungy
Hmm.
than that. Um,
It's not.
Bon Iver. Bon
Okay,
Iver. That
him.
took a minute,
Yeah,
but there it is.
I was wondering if you were maybe thinking Front Porch Step, which I don't know.
No, but it's like the idea of the Bon Iver, and my wife hates it, but it was like I tracked the vocals over and over and over, just myself,
Yeah.
just so it kind of, because he kind of does that, and it has this interesting sound to his vocals where they're like multi-tracked, and so I'd done that, and I pulled them back, where it's like you're singing the same thing, you're not doing harmonies, you're just singing the same thing, but like 8 times, 20 times, and so you get this kind of interesting sound to the vocal tracks, kind of ghostly in a way. It's just different, and I really liked his. But it's also more forgiving, I think, too,
Right.
because I wasn't doing everything else with the production side of it, and I didn't know how to make. I didn't know how to record an album. I just did it.
Well, I mean,
So
I didn't know how to make a podcast. I just started doing
right,
it, and now
but
I have
we
a
got to do.
podcast.
Yep. So yeah, that was it. So I just went for it. You know, kind of. I've been watching all these people like Oliver Anthony and different people where they're just
Right.
singing with a microphone. I know a lot of it's recorded later, but some of it's not. Some of them they're recording out with just a microphone and just going for it, and you can tell. And I
Yeah.
just like that kind of rawness. Um, Again, it feels like the Lumineers are doing everything live. Just it feels like you're in a big room and everything's kind of bouncing around.
Yeah.
And probably most of it's done in post. I don't know, but I like that old. Like it feels like an old Beatles album or something else where they were just tracking things different than they do now, where everything's your goal is to keep everything as clean as possible.
Yeah.
I didn't want it clean. If keep some of the imperfections. You don't want it to be too perfect, and that's again part of low fidelity is not being perfect. And I wasn't going for it. Some of the parts I just was like, well, that's close enough. I'm not trying to spend weeks doing. I don't have time.
Right.
It's just I like the idea of the song. We're gonna just put something out there, and it's still like I have an album in my computer I call memory lapse recordings, and that's what they really started as, like, so that I wouldn't forget this idea that I had. So my memory's not great about things. I'll forget whatever little lake I created or whatever
Yeah.
three sentence thing I have at the moment, but I'll come back to it maybe. And so I have memory lapse recordings on my phone, and again, those are that low fidelity, and yeah. So I pulled from that for one or two songs. One of the songs was straight in. It was just an idea. It was so I wouldn't forget it. The last one, Everlasting Love, was just straight one microphone into the Logic, but I didn't. I just had this microphone. I just sat in the room and played it and sang it, so I remember it. And I was like, it's good enough. We'll just put it on like that. We'll add a little,
Yeah.
do a little EQ to it and call it good enough. But that's what I would love for it to be at a point where maybe it's just that one take and then go in and add
Right.
the other stuff around it. The problem is that there's no click track, so it's harder to time it if you're not doing it to a click to add other instruments. But the I just released two other songs. Um, Help Me, Lord, I think it was, and that was when I just did into a microphone here. Um, and that one, yeah, Help Me, Lord, and that one's more like a psalm like David, where he's talking about his struggles he's going through, right?
Right.
But it's still bringing it back to scripture. It is one of those things that I want to do with all the songs um, that I've been writing, and so like, um, what was I just saying? Like, For God So Loved is another one I just wrote, which is basically I was reading Isaiah 53, kind of the forecasting or the prophetic word about the Messiah to come, and then John 3:16, and so I released that like right after Easter, and it's just for God so loved he gave, and it's basically he gave his son. Um, what did it say? For God so loved he gave his only son to save the world from sin and grave. For God so loved he gave, and so from that, there's some other scriptures and stuff I tied in the verses that are like kind of lost and weary, heart so heavy, come find your rest, kind of. Yeah.
I got you.
So yeah. So there's things like that that are based on it. Um, Get Up Sleeper is basically Ephesians 5:8-14. Wake Up Sleeper depends on the version. I think this was I was reading my Bible during a worship practice where I was just in the back. We had a full band, and I didn't need to be doing anything, so I just sat there and was reading my Bible while they were going through practice. And I just had like a melody come to me through the Get Up Sleeper Get Up, which actually reminds me of a little bit of the John Foreman album that's telling you about the Departures one
Mm-hmm.
that you should listen to. And there's just this kind of in fact, even now I overproduced that one and I put electric guitars on it and stuff I wish I hadn't, because the original one of it was a little more haunting in the way that it came across with the that 1930s guitar. So I'm a little bummed now when I listen back to it that I went that way with it instead of leaving it the more stripped down version. Um, but yeah, it's legit straight out of it, as well as I trust in Jesus is literally Psalm 25. It's just the show me your ways, teach me your paths, guide me in your truth. You are my God, you are my hope, Lord, for you are good. Like that's like basically these scriptures put to music. They don't rhyme, but it doesn't feel like they need to as you're singing it, because
Right.
truth and good, I guess, are close enough. Ooh and ooh, a good,
Yeah.
it's close enough, I guess, that it works. But um, yeah, so I'm just trying to really, and what we were talking about before, trying to make sure that these are very much scripture based and that you're basically learning scripture by singing them or the concepts of on some of them. So, but not all of them will be that way, but I would hope a lot will be more like that, where they'll be taking chunks and almost putting them to music. I know some people are doing that with the Psalms, and it's amazing. Like on Spotify, I listen to the people that are doing Psalms as songs, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But
For sure. For sure. Um, so I got two more questions for you.
okay,
My second to last question. Obviously, you dropped an EP not terribly long ago. You've dropped two more singles since then.
yep.
What's the future look like? What projects we got in the works?
Um, well, time is the hardest part, right?
Yep.
Because most of those come from where I just was spending a lot of time in the Word. Like I probably wish I could be doing every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just would come out of it in like personal worship time. And that's where again where I'm saying like that idea of when your God gives you a word for your church or for you, but we're just trying to take those same 25 songs and cram them to fit. Um, but I think that so much he speaks to us so much just through the word and reveals so much to us in a word that's been written for now thousands of years, and it's still revealing new stuff to us and different things to different people because he's using it to speak to us. And so the more that I can be in it, the more I hope that I can write some more. But the goal is never, like again, coming back to, I need to write these songs because I'm trying to make an album. Like some of these songs were written 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and popped into here. And I just had recently knew 3 or 4. And so then decided to record them. But now I have all the stuff to record them. So I can do it, but it's just a matter of like not forcing it. So what I usually do is I'll write them as those memory lapses first and listen to them for a little while and decide whether or not I'm going to
Right.
finish it or if it is finished. Um, but yeah, I would again, what I would love to do though is come out with a platform and an idea. Because the hard thing is, the more that I'm trying to push away from some of these big two that I don't know what their meaning is, or because they use scripture in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
and so I don't know what even things that seem like it says one thing may be in a different meaning. Anyway, there's not a lot of options outside of that right now, unless you're going old stuff, like old Chris Tomlin, how great is our God, and um, yeah. So going back to like 2014, 20, whatever, you could get beyond before the time of these more recent ones. So yeah, I would love to find out a way that people, because we don't need big recording studios anymore to
Right.
get ideas out and to be able to share. And maybe the mega churches won't use them because it doesn't have the click tracks and everything else. But most other churches that are just either one or two people doing, that's the other thing is like, what's the new group out of Atlanta? That's the big worship group.
Um.
Um, I think they're out of Atlanta, aren't they? No, maybe not. But they do a bunch of stuff, and it's got a whole lot of weird chords and stuff that are just hard to play. Like they've just made music hard to play as a single person, or two people, or whatever. So part of it is like adding the simplicity back to worship
Right.
to a degree, that's more playable and singable and all that. Um, but yeah,
I got you.
there's that's Maverick City. That's what I'm trying to think of. Like they use a lot of tough chords and a lot of stuff where if you're just the guitar player, you can't do it because it's all this super jazzy piano stuff that they're doing and weird inversions of chords and stuff that doesn't translate well to just a person on a guitar around a campfire, like, or just in your own personal worship, just hard to do unless you just play their song. It's like, I'd love to get back to where it is just some of it stripped down and back to the heart of worship days. Like,
Yeah.
back to heart, those were super simple songs. Some of those earlier worship, more contemporary worship songs were super simple to sing and to play. The melodies were very easy. Where these ones, they're like singing over each other and they feel more like solo driven instead of corporate worship driven. Like the idea of coming together as a church and singing corporately is to sing as one voice, but they kind of sing over the top and do all this other stuff, which is just hard to know what you're supposed to do as somebody in the congregation. So yeah, anyway, it's fun to listen to, not necessarily ideal for every situation.
I agree.
So that's the next thing is maybe I would love to try and figure out a way to put that database together where people could share their songs and we could somehow do it by theme or by whatever like that people are looking for their churches. Like if they're going through certain seasons and they're looking for kind of a song that would fit with that, that they could take and use. So that would be cool to have a church resources that's not like Multitracks. I don't know if you've ever used it or seen it, but Multitracks does this for all the top songs, and churches can download them and use them and whatever if you pay into it. Now, I'd love for it to not be a pay to use thing. I would love for it to be somebody outside companies that would donate,
right,
to fund the facilitation of the website, but then the music and all that be available. Just people sharing what God's shared with them. They're not trying too hard with it where they spend a lot of money to make it. They can just share it from their phone and people can pull it and find it and be able to have the chord tablature and all that they can, in the words.
Right.
So they can do it, so play it. Yep. Play along with it.
Kind of like SoundCloud, except.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a SoundCloud for worship. Yep. That kind of idea.
Makes sense.
But where you'd share it in one place where everyone would know where to go. Because right now you'll have some people that'll just post something to Instagram or they'll post it to.
Yeah.
But if you have something that was a resource like a Jesus Freak Hideout kind of thing where they could come to, or what was it? Ultimate tabs or ultimate guitar tabs or different things like that
right.
were available on the beginning of the internet for people to learn how to play songs. People were taking their time to tell you how to play the chords or whatever. But this would just be, hey, here's my verse or chorus of a song that I wrote that you can use.
Right.
So anyway,
I got
that's
you.
The idea.
I got you. Well,
small churches banding together and putting together a pool of resources that they can use.
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can help. Hopefully you can facilitate that because I would say it's probably needed in a way for a lot of churches.
Yeah.
But,
the hard part is weeding through if you get too much stuff that's not great or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, or, oh, this one doesn't align with scripture. Cut it, like somebody's got to monitor that probably.
Right.
So.
And it can't really just be one person depending on how big it is,
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anyway, my final question for you is, where can people find your music?
Yeah. Right now, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, it's on YouTube, all under Low Fidelity Worship. And yeah, if you just follow along on those. I mean, the easiest way is on like Instagram. I try to keep that posted, and that usually posts to Facebook or whatever. But even when I'm just kind of writing songs, I'm posting it because the idea isn't to keep stuff until it's perfect. Like
Right.
I'll post it as an idea, and then later I'll post it as a more complete idea, or I'll wait and then I'll put it together in, I don't know, like a 5-song EP. So, but I'm not going and just filling time. And there's a lot of like just self promotion on Instagram, which I also hate about the contemporary music industry. It's the same person pushing their one song where they're like lip syncing to it in 100 different locations, but they just keep playing the same 15 seconds of their song as a little short.
Hey,
Um,
sometimes they'll hold on now. Sometimes they'll mix it up and they'll get like random people to also lip sync the
with
song.
them,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I don't love that. It was funny because Josh Baldwin was just at a church speaking, and he kind of poked fun at some of those guys. He was like, "I'm not great at social media, but I just write worship songs, and if people like them, they like them. I'm not going to sit there and you know over advertise myself because it's not about me, right? So
Right.
yeah, so that's the hard part is you have to do it in order for people to see it, but how much is too much when you're pushing it, like, and then it just becomes it feels dirty. You like it feels just
It
I don't
feels
know.
like an idol.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm trying not to make it that.
No,
Yep.
I
So
get
that's
I
why
get what
the
you're saying.
posts have kind of died off for a minute. Like, so I'm not going to keep rehashing the same ones,
Yeah.
but
But then some people feel like you have to feed the algorithm just to stay relevant, which I don't
yeah.
understand that, but that's just me.
If you build an audience that's eventually listening on Spotify and they're just putting it in their playlist, I think that's the main thing is getting it into playlists
Yeah.
nowadays. That helps if people are putting it into their saved things and listening every once in a while. Then they'll get information about the new songs when they drop on Spotify. I
Right.
don't need them to follow for whatever reason.
And it's pretty much the
But
same in the podcasting world too. I mean, it's pretty much the same. You kind of feel like you're obligated to feed the a lot of people take it a little bit far and they feed the algorithm too much, right? And then
yeah,
their quality of work drops because they're running on this breakneck release schedule.
yeah,
So,
and I'm not trying to just make it for no reason. So I got enough other things that keep me busy and run a YouTube channel for remote control cars, which is pretty
nice.
big and requires a lot of my time and effort, but and podcasts for that. So this is kind of an extra
Yeah.
thing on top of that, and I'd love to write with my son more. That'd be fun. He's really gifted on the piano and can take an idea and turn it into something super cool, super fast. So and he's playing drums now too. So maybe the next one will have more real drums on it versus me just playing a little hand drum and clapping and doing some weird effects to it to make it sound like other things. So, but yeah, um, we'll see. Like my brother liked the latest stuff because it was more polished. I didn't like it as much. I preferred the more raw, and so it really comes down to what people like. Music is subjective in that way, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
what I like, other people don't like, and so I love the rawness of certain albums and would prefer to listen to that, and other people want to be super polished and cleaned up and whatever. So, um, yeah, it's kind of fighting that battle of your own. Am I too being too creative and too out there versus musicians fight that all the time, right? Oh, this album doesn't sound anything like the last one.
Am I too niche?
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, we'll see. I prefer to keep it a little bit more
Yeah.
homegrown feeling than anything,
Nice.
and just not like I made an idol and put too much time into it. Like at some point, it's good enough, and you just let it go. You release it. So
For sure.
anyway,
All right.
yeah.
Well, that was all the questions I had for you, and like I do for all my other guests, I open it up now here at the end. If you got any questions for me,
I feel like we had a pretty good conversation back and forth. Got to know a bit about you and your musical style. Do you play an instrument too?
Um, that's a funny story. So, when I was in college, I got this wild hair that I was gonna teach myself to play the acoustic guitar. Um, and funnily enough, I thought I could fake it enough to impress my wife, who wasn't my wife at the time,
Yeah.
and I broke one of the strings. She's laughing in the next room. I broke one of the strings on the guitar. It was funny. It was a
Oh my
humorous
goodness.
story. So to answer your question very straightforwardly, no, I don't play any musical instruments at the moment. Because unfortunately, that same guitar also got water damaged because
Mm.
someone broke the fire sprinkler in the floor above us in our
Oh
dorms,
no.
and it flooded the lower floors. Yeah.
No good. Well, anyway, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Thank you
And
for being willing to come on.
yeah.
But all right, well, let me close us out here with a prayer for the unity of the church.
All right.
O God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, our only Savior, the Prince of Peace, give us grace seriously to lay to heart the great dangers we are in by our unhappy divisions. Take away all hatred and prejudice, and whatever else may hinder us from godly union and concord, that as there is but one body and one Spirit, one hope of our calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of us all, so we may be all of one heart and of one soul, united in one holy bond of truth and peace, of faith and charity, and may with one mind and one mouth glorify Thee through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Down South Salvation Podcast. I hope you found our discussion insightful and engaging. If you enjoyed the show, please consider liking this episode and sharing it with your friends and family. It really helps me reach more listeners like you. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. You can also follow me on X, formerly Twitter, at DS Salvation, and Instagram at Down South Salvation for updates and more. For additional content and to stay updated, find me on YouTube, Substack, and all major podcast platforms at the Down South Salvation Podcast. Your support means the world to me, and I look forward to bringing you more exciting episodes soon. Until next time, stay blessed.